If London Posse were finding their voice within a recognisable hip-hop framework, a collective from the West Country was about to take a darker, more artistic approach to hip-hop and reggae culture. Out of Bristol came Massive Attack.
British thing, you know, and even down to pinpointing it down to a West Country thing.
Way that we say 'em in, style that we read 'em in, massive attack. We keep it strong just like a vitamin, going for the positive and wiping out the negative songs. Cause brother, it's relative.
We were literally talking in our colloquial Bristol accents, you know, which was kind of, at first it was like kind of, bloody hell, listen to those guys.
Attitude just cool, breeze below zero, up against a wall, behaving like De Niro. Trick is performing, taking his photo, making a stand with a tan, touch it like Coco.
It was just so dark, and the level of creativity was just like, you know, at such a height that, you know, it was really incredible. And for me, I think particularly conjured up all these different ideas about Britain. I just like the whole look of the whole thing, the black and whiteness of it, the grittiness, the earthliness of it all. And again, the whole melting pot idea, you know.
You sure you wanna be with me? I've nothing to give. Now take a walk, take a rest.
Massive Attack started out as a sound system, but gradually evolved into a live band who chose not to adapt their introspective multicultural sound for the American mass market.
Let's put a bit of reggae in, let's put a bit of punk in, let's do this, let's do that, you know. Things that we felt comfortable with, you know, rather than try and emanate this culture that we really didn't actually know anything about. But with us, you know, the bass line was ultimate. You know, from the days we used to go to the sound systems, but we always wanted to put something which was ethereal on top, you know, like something really sweet. And that's where the soul vocal came into play for us.
Midnight rockers, city slickers, gunmen and maniacs.
Shara Nelson's voice, unusual, maybe not a typical, you know, gospel voice, but a unique voice. It was so powerful, that record, that people didn't care that the guys in it were white and there was a Rastafarian in there too. They didn't care.
You can free the world, you can free my mind, just as long as my baby's safe from harm tonight.
They worked that whole sound system culture from just being DJs into being producers, into being super pop cinematic producers.
With the advent of music television, Massive Attack were quick to maximise the potential of pop promos.
Videos really changed the whole landscape when it comes to promoting a record. You make a video can go on rotation. There are so many channels now that if it gets no radio airplay, it can still be a top 20 hit record and feel almost underground.
We've always had a really strong visual aspect. And we've all, you know, as naive as we think we are, you know, we've always said that, you know, maybe that might be somebody's first contact with Massive Attack, the fact that they might see a video.
Coma, Jamaica and Roma, coma, Jamaica and Roma, coma, Jamaica and Roma, coma, Jamaica and Roma.
We've been going for 15 years now, and we haven't cut any turf really in America. They don't really understand it. They don't understand the whole setup. You know, when you've got these guys, you know, when we first came out, it was like the black guy, the white guy, the mixed race guy. It was like, how the fuck do you market this?
By the time Massive Attack released the 1998 record Mezzanine, Robert 3D Del Naja and Grant Daddy G Marshall and Andrew Mushroom Vowles had well established their place atop the UK music scene. Born of the DJ sound system scene in the late 1980s Bristol, Massive Attack combines the sampling and looping of electronica with a down-tempo brand of hip-hop to create what critics dub the trip-hop Bristol sound. It's marked by an ever-changing roster of lead vocalists like Sharon Nelson, Tracy Thorne, and Martina Topley-Bird, a trend Massive Attack began that's widely used in popular music today. The trio became a duo in 1999 when Andrew left the band over creative differences, and on album 4, 3D went solo with Daddy G breaking to be with his family, but Massive Attack, the duo, is back with its first album together in 12 years called Heligoland. And now the Bristol boys, 3D and Daddy G, are with me here in Studio Q. Hello, gentlemen.
Can I just correct you on 12 years?
Yes. Has it not been 12 years?
No.
How many years has it been?
It's been 7 since the last album.
The last album with you two both on it?
To be honest, though, it's slightly mythological because, you know, we didn't actually not work on the record together. It just ended up, you know, being taken in a certain direction. It was never intended to be a solo project. It never was. We never saw it as such. We just had various amount of disagreements on the approach, but it wasn't an album we didn't work on together. There was a lot of time spent in the studio at the beginning of 100th Window. So,
all right, well,
and plenty of time in between. You know, doing different things, being on the road together. So it's not like I know that people are trying to create this picture of us, you know, suddenly becoming, you know, sort of friends again after a 12-year gap. But it's just not the way it is.
So you've been in touch the entire time?
Yeah, absolutely.
Gee, what if it's been 7 years? What does it feel like to be back together after 7 years with a new record?
And yeah, again, I'm contradicting what Dee's saying because 7 years. But you know, me and Dee have always been in contact with each other from. It was only just the studio time that we didn't spend together. So you know, it was just that time at the studio that we weren't soul brothers.
Well, what about when you did return to the studio together? Did it feel creatively different this time, or after a certain while, is it like riding a bicycle?
No, it's always been creatively different. You know, we always strive to sort of not repeat the same formula of what we did last time. So every time we're in the studio, it's always a new experience, and you know, it's new challenges.
I'm conscious that you're drawing something. I'm curious.
Just nerves.
You're drawing your nerves?
Yes.
Are you doing a caricature?
No, nothing in particular.
Oh, okay. I thought maybe you're
doodling. Yes.
Yeah. Tony Bennett once was here for an interview, and I saw him doodling throughout the thing. And by the end of the interview, he had constructed a caricature of me and the entire studio. It was quite impressive.
Well, I've got my little transformer thing going on here, which I'll stick together at the end of the interview.
The new album does veer away from strictly electronic music, if you guys could ever be considered only that. And there's a blend of acoustic instruments in this mix. You've talked about an organic sound on this record. Tell me about the reasons or the precipitant of that shift.
Go on, kid.
Gee, I can't answer that.
You can't answer that. You were in the studio.
I wasn't even listening.
You're in the studio. Go on.
What was the question again, sorry?
The question was the organic sound.
Oh yeah, that was that was just something that we wanted to put across. You know, the fact that we've evolved from, you know, where we come from the studio bass, from the DJ bass thing to where we are now, and the fact that we were working with our musicians and you know, the nature of 100th Window, we were trying to kind of get away from that sound, and yeah, that was a goal. We were trying to create something that was sort of more in keeping with, you know, you being in the studio with us as we were recording, that sort of organic feel. So it was more of a, you know, immediate thing, really.
A goal meaning it was is it a cerebral decision, like let's go in this direction, or is it just a natural consequence of what you're feeling creatively?
I think it was just a natural, you know, the way that, you know, we had approached it from the original onset, that we wanted to create that.
Well, not necessarily, because I mean, we did scrap a whole album in the process.
Yeah, of course, yeah.
So that's not a myth.
That's not a myth.
That's true. You've written an entire album of songs.
Well, there was a lot of material that we were kind of touring as well, and we curated a festival called Meltdown in London, which was like putting on your own sort of private festival, effectively, with your own bands, your own sort of like playlist. And we'd taken the sort of the gig on the road as well. you know, on the back of that in the summer, and we were trying this material out, which was going to be this next album, which I think we got to the end of it, and you know, I guess I particularly didn't really feel it at all, and didn't really sort of, I didn't have there was nothing for me coming to the end of it. I went to the studio with it and tried to sort of capture it, what we've been doing on stage, and didn't really feel, it just didn't have the heart for me, and so it was a case of starting again, you know. And one of the ideas was to go in with Damon Albarn, who's a friend of ours, and change the environment, you know, in terms of getting out of Bristol, getting out of our own space, and doing something a bit different, you know. And I think, in terms of, you know, what being 100 Window was very much a digital process, you know. It was probably the point where the computers caught up with us, and everything was in the box, everything was made on the computer. And it was, even though a lot of acoustic instruments were used, they were all manipulated and changed and sort of and affected on the computer. This record, I wanted it to be more, you know, more real, in a sense. When we got in with Damon's very much a spontaneous person, and you know, that kind of rubbed off on us. And to be honest, in the studio with Damon was the first time me and G had probably sat in a room actually working together, writing in a traditional sense, with, you know, a microphone out, all the lyrics on the table, you know, Horace, Damon, keyboards, in a very much almost a sort of a traditional way.
You've not recorded that way before?
Not really that sort of band. I mean, traditionally, you know, it was a, you know, I mean, G's kind of got more of a DJ approach, so he'll come in with ideas from tracks, or he'll have ideas from bass lines and things, you know. But it's not like we sit down together going, okay, let's apply that with this and this with that. It's a much more broken approach, you know, where people often work in their own spaces. I mean, Mushroom had his own studio at his house, you know, and he'd sit there in his own studio doing this thing. And, you know, at one point I was working with Tricky in a completely different studio, and so on, you know. So
does it seem more creatively united doing it this way?
There's this moment, I feel, you know,
you're more of a football team. You're in there together. I
think, you know, I think being on the road kind of defines the relationship now, you know, because we spend a lot of time in each other's company in that sense, and you play music to people in a more you know, sort of instantaneous manner. You're not in the studio locked away doing it for the future. It's all happening now, and I think that kind of is what rubs off on the relationship. You know, there's no way after amount of years me and G are working that we're going to sit in the same room together, you know, scribbling lyrics and writing, you know, in that sort of fashion. That's not how it works, you know. We definitely, you know, I kind of tend to work in my space, and likewise with G, but we've got a communal space in Bristol, and it'd be great if, you know, there is a bit more of that spirit, but often we're defined by the collaborations and the people we work with, you know.
I want to get to that, but just what were the, if there were any, the emotional, if not economic, implications of scrapping a whole record? Did you feel the pressure of doing that?
I think, you know, the first conversation with our manager was probably the most interesting.
How did that go?
That was, you know, I mean, didn't happen, you know, again, I could romanticize it and make it sound like it was one moment, but it was probably a series of conversations in which he came to the conclusion that was going to happen, you know, over a couple of weeks, that this album was not going to be made as it was. And I suppose it was strange for the record company and our you know, the guys who promote our gigs, because they'd seen what they thought was an album and heard it and liked it, and the news that it was not going to ever exist was a bit of a shock. And also, to be fair, on some of the people we worked with on those tracks, you know, I felt there was definitely a bit of residual guilt and a little bit of loss in the sense of some of these tracks weren't going to appear, you know. So there's lots of different emotional stuff that had to be, you know, sorted out, as it wasn't just a simple decision, you know. I think the creative decision was very quick, but the process of actually stopping that album happening and starting a new one was quite difficult, you know.
I would imagine so. Tell me about the song Splitting the Atom from the new record. What's the story behind that one?
I guess this was one of the things that happened in with Damon. You know, it was a very spontaneous moment. There was, you know, G had this kind of beat idea. Damon had a sort of like he called it an Arabic blues scale, and I had all these lyrics which were kind of about this, you know, the state of the nation in the UK, the state of being for the individual who was watching, you know, time in history repeat itself. And the song kind of was born, really, you know, and that's how we sort of threw it together. We chucked the lyrics, it made a sketch, and then started to refine it from that point onwards.
Watching history repeat itself, how so?
In a sense that you could see that, I think with the recession upon us again, with the political system in the UK feeling fragmented, the disillusionment with the parties and the leaders, the similar sorts of problems that were happening in the 80s, and which was when we grew up as kids when we were into music.
Right.
And in a sense, we released our first album in a sort of a conservative government Britain after a long period of Thatcherism, as we called it. It felt like we were heading back towards this, because we'd had this idealistic moment of the Labour Party coming to power, and then that had all gone tits up when they agreed to go into Iraq, and the recession that followed it after years of not regulating the banks and the spending, and you could see it all going on, and we just felt like we were part of this cycle that you can't do anything about this thing.
And all that is explored in this song.
I think lots of parts of that, but particularly the mood of that.
Interesting. You talk about the genesis of that song, the ideas behind that song. Seeing you live, it's quite clear that there's politics behind the band, even activism. It's not something that one necessarily associates with this type of music, with dance music, with electro music, with DJ music. Is that a prejudice, or do you know what I'm talking about?
I think that's probably a fair assessment. I think there's been probably quite a lack of social, political activity in the dance music scene for years. There's been a fair amount of posturing, and there's been some good bands that do posturing well, but not any really serious kind of intent, I think. And to be honest, I think that you probably some people would say that goes right through the whole of the music scene in general, that there's very little will to get involved in real politics.
Would it be fair to say that this is a more political record than you've done in the past?
Yes and no. I mean, the Blue Lines was very much, I think people felt it reflected a period of time we'd come from, in Britain as well. It was less of a political statement than an image of the social environment, of Bristol, of London, of England, the sort of characters and the people that made up that landscape, and I think people related to that a lot when we came out, even though we were entering the 90s, which was a kind of relatively blissful period of, of hedonism and upbeatness in general,
Take me back to Blue Lines for just a moment, because it reflected the sounds you pioneered in Bristol, but it was something pretty new to the rest of the UK. How did you expect that more internal, pensive kind of dance music would go over when it was first released?
We didn't know how it would go over in the studio when we were mixing it. I mean, we didn't even know if we'd finish it, to be honest. I think, there was, I could quite safely say that at our camp, including Cameron, our then manager, and Johnny Dollar, sadly our producer, who passed away last year, I don't think any of us, including them, actually knew if we'd finished the project. It was kind of very much touch and go. So we had no idea really of whether it was going to work outside of the four walls we were occupying,
How did you, Daddy G?
I think there was a sense that there was something different that we were creating, most definitely, because at the time, as Dee was saying, dance music was kind of this high octane type of music, which was kind of hedonism, sort of escapism, and with the music that we were making, it was more of a case of like, maybe this is the type of music for after the club, after you've completely come home and you off your head and you wanted to relax and let your head do the dancing rather than your feet.
You were surprised that it became both a phenomenon and critically praised?
Not necessarily, to be honest, me personally, because at the time I was still quite heavily into DJing, and to me it just seemed like there was something quite special going on in the studio between us, and it was kind of the antithesis of what was going on at the time, really. Music-wise.
Tell me about, it's interesting, both because of your success and because of your longevity, that despite the buzz you've had over the years, and the early buzz, you've sometimes expressed the feeling that you self-identify as musical outsiders, that you didn't really fit in with the traditional musicians or with dance DJs either. Tell me about that. Explore that feeling, if you will.
Absolutely. I mean, I think because we came from this really, exciting period of music where Bristol was... it was about small gigs and punk and everything, and it changed when we started doing these sound system parties, and it became all about going to warehouse parties and club nights instead of gigs, which then that evolved into the rave culture of the UK at the time. But
that's right, yeah.
we felt like our history encompassed all these different scenes we'd been about and which were really affecting for us. I think hip hop was to us was a mirror of the punk movement. It was this new identity of anti-establishment, of something which was independent from the mainstream, which we were really into, you know. But when it came to putting our music out traditionally, we felt that we never fitted into either any of the sort of like footprints that everyone else was sort of, you know, were treading well, because we weren't doing what the DJs wanted to play on Saturday night, you know. We weren't playing stuff that could go on the radio. We weren't the darlings of the British indie rock press, because we weren't doing that either. So we sort of trickled into the gaps, and people had to find us in a different way. And I think it was kind of suited us because we weren't pushing ourselves in people's faces, you know.
Well, I wonder, in almost a counterintuitive way, if not fitting in, if feeling like outsiders can be liberating. It means you don't have expectations. You do what you want.
Yes, it's totally liberating for us. You know, like Dee said, we're not archetypal musicians, and you know, in fact, you know, we're actually coming from the musical fan perspective. You know, where we've grew up with all these different genres of music, and you know, when we got our chance to go into the studio through, you know, the aesthetics of hip hop. You know, we kind of copied that sort of way of producing our music at first. You know, that was our inroads really from that perspective, rather than from, you know, being the Beatles.
So would the outsider status and the self-identity of such be one of the reasons for the changes in musical directions, or for the facility to do that?
Well, there's no boundaries for what we do. So, you know, the musical experiment was just, that was what we did. We just got into the studio and just experimented all the time, and, you know.
Really?
To a certain extent, yeah. Or chanced our hand.
I like it when you two disagree
case.
on the history of the band.
Well, yeah, I mean, you know, we do, because I mean, because if you imagine, there's the reason the band sort of fell apart, I guess, in the end of the 90s, was because we did disagree with direction. Now, if there had been three people that were totally open to experimentation, then that would never have happened, you know. We'd have all gone, yeah, everything goes, let's try everything. But there was always conflict, because everyone came from their own taste background, their own style background, the things they adhered to. You know, Mushroom wasn't really into what we were doing on Blue Line, on Mezzanine, you know, at all. You know, to a certain extent, me and G fight all the time, because G's coming from a DJ background, he has things that he likes, that he feels from a groove point of view work. And I'm sort of always more likely to rip that up and try something. You know, I mean, I suppose I'm always pretty dissatisfied with what we do anyway. That's why a lot of it goes back on the shelf or disappears into the trash.
But, you know, from an outsider's perspective, looking at you guys, there's almost a Massive Attack paradox, because on the one hand, if you say Massive Attack to a lot of people who know your music, there's immediately a sound in mind. People identify you with a sound, and yet your music is constantly evolving. So what do you think it is that weaves together the Massive Attack identity musically?
It's hard to say, because when we've not worked together, you know, when we've worked apart, you know, there's still it happens into a space which I guess it carries with it its own history. Even when you're trying to, you know, push or pull away from what you're doing in the past, maybe you can't escape some of it, and it's always there with you, because your taste defines how you finish the track, you know. So whether it is doing something like Live With Me with Terry Callier, which, you know, I did with Neil, it still couldn't help but being Massive Attack-esque in its history, because it carried something from the past with it into the present, you know. On the other side of that single, there's False Flags, which was completely different. It was
But the only constants are you two, right? I mean, so is that the alchemy that creates this
Alchemy.
The musical alchemy? G?
There's still something, yeah, deep down there's something about the aesthetic, maybe, that myself and Dee get out of the track, which is kind of quite similar. You know, in the end, there's, you know, for instance, like Dee was saying, you know, we shared the same spirit in the studio this time making this album, whereas, you know, we weren't necessarily eating out of each other's pockets, but, you know, and there's, you know, a point where, you know, I think we're both kind of, you know, as much as we fought against the tracks, we're kind of quite happy that where the tracks are, where they sit now, you know, we look at this body of work and, you know, it does reflect, you know, Dee and myself, you know, to a certain extent. Although, like, you know, our fingerprints aren't necessarily firmly on each track.
I think the thing is it's like, you know, going back to that thing, it's happy to coexist. You know, you get to a point in the evolution of a friendship or in a band where, you know, you're starting, it's all exciting, there's fights, you know, then the second record comes and you've suddenly got to compromise with each other because you've got to coexist on a different level. And then, you know, with us, with Mezzanine, we pushed everything to a different space, and that created more fights and so on and so on, you know. But I think for me and G, you know, we've been, like I said, touring for so long that we've experienced our music and its effect on people or its effect on us in a completely different way, which isn't about the studio. It's about being out there, meeting people, playing it to people and sharing that experience. And I think that really is what keeps the friendship, is a definition. When we take that back to the studio, you know, the spirit is shared because of that memory we have of doing this stuff together, you know, and it overrides all the conflict of the past, because you get to a certain age and you think, man, you know, we've been doing this now for over 20 years and that's more important than the fight over this track, you know, whereas before the fight over that moment in the track could be the only thing that mattered.
Before I let you go, let me just ask you about the one thing that does remain consistent, which is the idea, an idea that you pioneered, in fact, of having guest vocalists on your tracks. And I wonder if that rotating front line, what that allows you to do creatively that bands with a steady front person cannot.
That's something we were always into. I mean, G mentioned the Beatles earlier, you know, for instance. I mean, you know, we grew up with them. You know, my mum used to dance me around the room to that, and the Beatles were like that. You know, there was different vocalists, different songs. Then you can go to talk about the Clash, you know, and another sort of more traditional group setup sense again, that they'd switch vocalists all the time and bring in guest vocalists like Mikey Dread or Future 2000. And then, of course, there's the reggae, rap, hip-hop thing, which you might have the same grooves and different vocalists coming out and putting new songs on the same bass lines. So we were always intrigued by the fact that you didn't have to have a set person to sort of convey a message, that it could always change. And that's something we took into the studio from from day one, I think. It's something that really intrigued us, and I guess it has helped us to redefine every time we start again with someone, we're all starting again at a new place. And we learn as much from the people that come into the studio as they do from our process, you know. 22
years. Where do you guys, are you where you want to be? Where do you feel like you are on your journey? And what, in terms of your aspirations for Massive Attack in 2010 and beyond?
Well, I'm halfway home.
How long is it? I think we're still trying to understand each other after all these years, and you know, it's for us, it's kind of exciting, and you know, and it's great to have achieved so little in such a long space of time.
Come on.
No, it's good. Still good.
Thanks very much, guys. Pleasure to have you here.
Okay, say that.
Cheers. Robert 3D Del Naja and Grant Daddy G Marshall are the quintessential Bristol band Massive Attack. Their new album is called Heligoland. It's out now, and Massive Attack have been with me here live in Studio Q.
From way above to bring me life. On the bright side, neutralize every man inside.
Our blood is gold, nothing to fear. We
Don't let it go. It's easy. Don't let it go. It's easy. Don't let it go. Don't lose it.
One that shoots that truth, I'm not dead. I'm running so far out of my head. This rain of heart that ripples
It's KCRW, I'm Jason Bentley, and a very special session now with Massive Attack. We have 3D, Daddy G, Horace, Andy, and Martina Topley-Bird in studio. Hello, everyone.
Hello.
Hello, hello. Can I be referred to as Robert?
Absolutely, yes, you are. Robert Del Naja is with us.
No. Just stick with one name.
Robert.
Thank you.
Robert it is. So can I ask you about technology? First of all, how you've taken advantage of technology in doing what you do, whether it's the live show or whether it's connecting with your audience.
Respectful of technology.
You have to be, don't you? Otherwise it'll kill you. Technology, you have to. It is a respect thing, really, because it's changed the way we do everything, isn't it? Really, and thinking back to the most primitive samplers we first picked up, or the first keyboards, to what you can do now. The fact you don't need I mean, this obviously is we're in a giant all singing, all dancing studio, and this was the way you had to sort of go out and record back in the day. You didn't have a choice. Now you can do it all on the laptop. It gives everyone the freedom to not only explore music, make it, but exchange it, listen to it. It's the most democratic music has ever been in terms of its sharing and exchange. It means you get a lot of everything, and you have to go looking for the good stuff. But that's probably a better scenario than it used to be when you had a few record companies, basically telling you what you were going to hear, because you only had them, the radio, the television, and the record shops, and that was the only way you could listen to music. It's a totally different universe now, and it's really it's exciting because of that.
Is it always liberating, or is there a downside and a negative side with control technology?
Well, I think people say that the information age comes with it. It's major disadvantages. Too much information isn't necessarily good for the soul. It doesn't help you make decisions. Often it can cloud your judgment. But at the same time, you've got to look at it from our point of view. I suppose we're the luxurious position where we get to look at all that information and absorb what we choose to, whereas in less fortunate parts of the world, this technology gives people the chance to share the problems they're going through, and we get to see things we never would have seen before on the street from a country where something's happening, where people had no way or access to the media ever before. So it kind of, I guess it's the luxury of the sort of white middle class European to say the world's going to end in 2012, whereas in the DRC or in Afghanistan or Iraq, the world could end tomorrow, and it's not about fate and circumstance and mystic numbers. It's about reality,
Yeah, I was chatting with Peter Gabriel about his Witness.org site, where he gives cameras to people so that they can actually record injustices to human rights on their own and upload these images to a centralized website at Witness.org. I mean, it is amazing what technology can do, but then on the downside, I am somewhat concerned with just the this sort of Big Brother effect. Also, it's the signal to noise ratio. I mean, it's so crowded. Even though there are so many options and people are texting and there's high definition and virtual reality and 3D, at the end of the day, you can really feel quite alone,
It's definitely, it doesn't, I mean, there's also the sense 3D movies might actually feel immersive. They're not going to improve the quality of filmmaking, let's face it, or storytelling. You know that from the start, from the examples we've already seen, I guess.
So talking about filmmaking, you commissioned a number of different short films. I don't want to call them music videos because they're really sort of their own thing, by independent filmmakers to accompany songs from Heligoland. Talk a little bit about that process of pairing up with filmmakers, and what do you think of some of the results? I've only seen 3 of them, but I don't know how many are available.
There's quite a few. There's a couple in production, and there's a few that we have not put up yet. I mean, we never really were a band that it was appropriate to spend hundreds of thousands of pounds in a video on for MTV, because we weren't even getting played on MTV. But everyone was doing the same thing. That was the marketing strategy for everyone. We all went out and made videos and spent a lot of money, and mostly your own money. You realise a lot later when you looked at the sort of paperwork. And now I think, again, with the internet, you've got the opportunity to sort of say to a filmmaker, let's make some films, low budget, but the great side of, the upside of the low budget is the fact, you haven't got to worry about broadcasting it anywhere but the internet. You don't need to sort of like do a distribution deal. It's just straight out tomorrow when it's finished, when you're happy with it, and it can be on any subject you want without censorship or concern. It's just your piece. And that's, again, that's an opportunity which was never really available to us back in the day, you know.
So did you let these filmmakers just run with an idea, or were you very involved in what it was?
Well, to be honest, we gave them, it was very much do what you want, and then they'd run an idea past us, you know, and we'd sort of, you know, go with it, and then we'd see some of the rough edits and have an input, but really it was their ideas to sort of run with, you know. That was the whole point. A bit like giving up your music to a remix, you know, giving someone the stems. And so we said, you know, you can take any part of the song. If you just want to loop up the bass line and use that, then that's enough for us. It's about making the film as much as it is accompanying the music.
So the focus on the set list is really the most recent album. You don't dip too far back into the catalog.
There's bits of everything, man. No, we do dip. We get our feet dirty, you know. Go far back, and we put a couple of crowd pleasers at the end, like a lot of bands, because there is. I think it's like if you try and write a book or tell a story or even make a film, you have to have some things in certain order. I mean, G would probably never let me forget the time I made us go on stage and do Unfinished Sympathy first at a festival, because I was so sick of having it at the end, and that went down well.
It was like, thank you very much, we're all going home now.
And yeah. I mean, to be fair, the crowd, you know, I don't know if we were in Germany or something, they stayed for the rest of the set, which was the challenge, you know, because I was always like, oh man, we always got to play this song, it's just really getting on our nerves, you know. But you forget after a while that people come to your show because they got a shared memory of knowing you from that time, from that song, and to not play it would seem to be kind of like even more sort of, I guess, just even more anal and sort of like egotistical than to play it in a way, because you're sharing something together. And as festival people, you know, I don't know why I'm digressing about festivals anyway.
No, you know what you're saying. It takes all types really in the fact that we've got different generations of people listening to our music.
True.
You know, you have to sort of tip your hat to maybe the 40-year-olds, you know, as well as the younger kids. You know.
Sure.
I mean, we're lucky to have Horace Andy with us. I mean, the thing is, we've been playing with Horace now for over 20 years, and touring with him has just been an experience, and we get to sort of like experience how people love him. Do you know what I mean? And check for him and the history that we share, and what Horace represents in terms of musical history and what he's about. You know, because for us, we came to Horace Andy as fans of Horace from his history, and now people come to sort of see us, and they now have heard Horace's back catalogue, and they come to hear him because they know the records he's made with us, and you get this kind of this amazing sort of like energy from people watching Horace, and you know, you can just see it. You know, he gets more chicks than we do. You know what I mean?
No, I don't think so, man.
Well, Horace, tell us though. You know, what has it been like for you in your career, just hooking up with these guys? I mean, you have your own, history in music, but then you hooked up with these guys, in about 1990 or
91.
You have the singular honor of being on every single Massive Attack record.
Well, it's really amazing, you know. 3D is the man. He's a genius, you know, because he was a Horace.
How about me, Horace?
I can't say that a G, but that a G is. I love his voice. Is really they're brilliant.
I'd stop this interview now if I was you. He's verbally burying me now.
No. 3D's the man, for real. I say it all the time. You know, he's blessed. You know, he's really, really blessed.
To be honest, I'm just blessed with the people I get to work with. Like you, do you know what I mean? Really, it's about the collaborations define us. You know.
Yes.
Yeah.
The way he makes me sing, man. You know, because I never know I could do this. In my heart, I wanted to do this a long time ago, but I didn't know I would do it with 3D, and we're married 20 years now. It's really nice, man. I really love being on my thing, yes, but it's so nice going on the road with 3D them, you know, honestly, and especially young people looking at this young man, you know, I'm 29, you know.
When was Skylarking? When was that record?
In 1972.
72.
Yeah.
And was that something you guys picked up at that time, just as young people?
I was too young for that.
Yeah, too young.
I don't think 3D know about that.
No, I mean, I actually learned from Horace from the punk thing through. There was a Dr. Alamontedo album, Best Dressed Chick in Town, with Horace on it. He was doing these parts, these kind of like these parts of his songs, and that was kind of like the punk scene. It was a record that was well played, and there was a lot of, in the punk scene back then, people were into reggae as well, because it was the alternative thing. If you wanted to get away from the mainstream in town and not get your head kicked in by a load of sort of like pissheads, you know what I mean? You go to a smaller club, listen to a bit of punk, bit of reggae, and then the electro hip-hop thing came through, and all these people suddenly were sharing all this music, and then that kind of got passed down to the next generation as well, really, and that's where our sort of experience of music really was born, in that whole era of that changing times, and the bass thing, Bristol's kind of like big Afro-Caribbean community, the reggae scene of Bristol, that sort of like translated, and still, as you know, for the dubstep you're hearing now, come out of the city, still has a major resonance, you know.
And what's so good about it? He said I was his best. It was his favorite singer.
Well, you were our favourite singer from day one, and you know that's what led to you know, like Dee's saying, you know, there's different avenues that actually led to Horace. You know, 3D knew him from the punk crossover thing. I knew him from the reggae thing. My parents used to play his records in the house.
And so, his Studio One, he has so much Studio One records, man. I want to jump through his window and take his catalog. Daddy G's really bad, man. He's really wicked. You know, made him do something already once. I would love to do it again. We mashed the place up.
We went to Japan recently, well no, 2 years ago now, I think, in Tokyo, and we went to this mad little record shop, and you know, like, Japanese reggae record shops are like, sort of like, you know, they're like, man, they've got everything in plastic, you know, they're proper collectors.
Well, 60% of the export reggae that comes out of Jamaica goes to Japan, doesn't it? So
No way.
that's a lot of reggae, yeah.
And they don't mess around, man. They're serious collectors of most things, but when they get into something, you know, like Japanese kids really focused on that. And they got some Horace Andy stuff in there. We've seen on the wall with him wearing his mad, big, flared white trouser suits and stuff. Do you know what I mean, you've never seen anything like this outfits, man. They're absolutely insane.
That was in Hartford, Connecticut. I think the Japanese, they come to Jamaica, right? And they come to Passa Passa and they stand up. And
Passa Passa being a dance, isn't it?
I think they have this blueprint inside here. There's the best people for looking at you, go back and
copying.
Jesus Christ, they're really brilliant. When I go into Japan, I hear them saying, I can't say them words, you know, but I love they say Lee Wynton. You know, they just print everything out, man. When they come to Massive Attack show, they know every single song. They sing every song. They're really brilliant.
I just want to ask you about the next record, because there has been some word on the street. Robert,
yes,
have you been mentioning that an album might follow as soon as 2011?
Well, you know, I think the thing is, there's been a lot of good energy around, you know, recently, and it's been, you know, what with the touring, the studio atmosphere, the more communal feeling in the studio, because we all know each other, and I think that might have even had what we did at Meltdown might have an influence on that. When we curated Meltdown and we were given the opportunity to put a festival together, and we just chose things that meant something to us personally, now, in the past, or whatever. And I'd think we took that, maybe that spirit rubbed off on us a little bit, and it's been fun being in the studio with people that you know and have respect for and you've got a friendship with, as well as working with some interesting strangers. And you know, for me, it's been fun, the visual thing, doing the painting, you know, getting back in the paint to paint again, and the like I said, the stuff on tour has been good. I think we all want to capitalise on the energy and get back home and keep writing, because it's been a good laugh, hasn't it?
Well, I hope, as you said, the next one, everyone always coming to me and said, when is Massive Attack gonna put all the Horace and the records?
Oh, get off. Here we go. Me.
The compilation album is in the wings.
They're always asking.
I know what your agenda is.
You know, they're always asking me that, you know, when we gonna get all the Massive Attack records of you on one?
Just the ones with Horace on.
Ask Robert.
How about Horace Andy featuring Massive Attack?
Ask me.
But you know, as Dee's saying, you know, it's to be honest, this is probably our easiest album that we've made. You know, the fact that we haven't imploded on each other as usual. So it would be nice to sort of continue this vibe, you know, into the next album. So hopefully, you know, it won't be another 5 years until the next one comes out. It'd be suicide.
Commercial suicide or personal suicide?
Both.
Both.
Well, listen, I want to thank you for taking the time to do this session for us at KCRW. Really appreciate it. You guys, something special. So many thanks to you. It's Massive Attack on KCRW.
see yourself 2 years from now, 2 years too you see yourself 2 years from now, 2 years too late.
Love is a verb. Love is a doing word. Fearless on my praise. Gentle impulsion shakes me, makes me lighter. Fearless on my praise. Teardrop under fire. Fearless on my praise. Night, night of matter, black flowers blossom, fearless on my praise. Black flowers blossom, fearless on my praise. Teardrop under fire, fearless on my. Most faithful mirror, fearless on my praise. Teardrop on the fire of a confession, fearless on my praise. Most faithful mirror, fearless on my praise. Teardrop under fire.
sunset may glow in threats.
fine. And it's fine. Light burns, light burn, light burn, light burn, light burn, light burn.
Hi, well, welcome to an interview with Massive Attack in association with The Raft, Virtue TV and NME.com. Welcome to you both. How's you feeling relaxed, settled in?
It's good start. Yeah, bloody phone ringing, isn't it?
You're busy guys.
Yeah.
You obviously look fairly relaxed. Is there a band vibe that's discernible at the moment?
Yeah, I think, we're kind of, good thing about, we're getting on really well now, me and Dean, so, there's a real good vibe in the studio.
Right.
So it's been really progressive,
Yeah.
Not, it's well documented what happened with Mezzanine, but, we're happy, aren't we? I think we're happy.
Happy little bunnies. Do you think? I mean, obviously, if you work in the times I've been up to Christchurch, it seems like there's a really good atmosphere. You're both sort of working hard on lyrics and things. Obviously, that's going to be reflected in the sound of what you're making. Will it still be as abrasive as Mezzanine?
Well, we're trying to hopefully it'll be a bit more abrasive in places and a bit softer in places. Trying to a bit more up and down, a bit of rough and smooth. And I think when you listen back to your own albums, you're obviously so critical. And when you listen back to Mezzanine, it kind of felt that it had a certain mood and didn't really stray from it too far. So feel like we need to kind of sort of don't want something which is too easy to listen to. And I feel our albums, if there's any complaint I got with our albums, is they do tend to have a style each time. And they stick with it.
Definitive sort of feel to the whole thing.
Yeah, I mean, albums do that generally. You can't really get away from that. That's the whole idea, trying to make the ultimate concept album, which probably never happened. But
is that what you're dealing with this? I mean, Mezzanine definitely had a sort of a definite feel to it, and Blue Lines and Protection probably did as well. Are you trying to sort of broaden out the whole album? I mean, previously you said you felt Mezzanine sort of dipped in the middle quite a lot in terms of its pace.
It just kind of seemed to settle into a groove in the middle, stuck in one gear. And at the time, it was just we were having so many fucking internal struggles in the band and everything. It was just it was an achievement to finish it. So at that point, we didn't really, we didn't really sort of worry about how it felt in the middle. Even though you always know you can do better, you're never going to be completely satisfied. So what I was saying, I just know already that things have already gone by the wayside in this album.
With this one,
yeah, things have been lost already. So that's just what you've got to live with. You can't, you do so many versions of each track that you're going to have to let things go, and it's a bit of a pain in the ass. But
do you feel sometimes you're too perfectionist in many ways? You sort of work towards a point that you can't reach. Or?
He is.
My worst, my worst traits.
Which is a good thing, being vigilant about what you do. Like Dee's approach to it. It really does get into this, like, it gets kind of finicky. But that's kind of good, because I overlook the smaller details sometimes.
Were you dealing broader brushstrokes then?
Yeah,
How's your sort of? Is there a lyrical theme? I mean, in terms of the overall tracks that you're working on, is there a definite?
To be honest, lyrics always come last with us. I mean,
Right.
I think that's a lot of bands obviously start off with songs in a more traditional sense. So it kind of, you can see the way that they sort of develop something from a core sort of theme. Where with us, it's like a lot of music, a lot of ideas, a lot of tracks. Then we sort of then tend to paste sort of like songs to them, you know. So that's why we end up with so many versions of each track. And why it's so hard to finally call it a day or collate it or call it, you know, put a full stop on it.
I mean, you're almost anti-song in some ways. You know, it's working with sort of different beats and sounds and stuff, collages that just sort of end up as sort of pieces. It's not. I mean, I remember once asking you if you're ever going to write a 3-minute song, and you're just laughing, you know.
Yeah.
In a sort of a conventional pop song.
I don't know. We've never been really. It's never been a conventional. We're not conventional musicians in a sense. It's mostly about imagination, as opposed to skills on instruments and a traditional kind of music upbringing. It's much more sort of. Well, it's fucking different than that, you know. It's just a different history, a different type of working. So it is going to be a little bit more abstract than the average way of writing songs, you know.
Okay. Cool. Right, well, let's cut to a question here from Naya, asks Massive Attack. Which contemporary artists do you find most interesting, brackets, visual arts? Are you a great visual artist, G?
Me? No, not really.
No?
I don't really know much about art, I'm just into music, really.
You know what it's like?
I am music, I am Mr. Music.
You are Mr. Music. Do you buy
No, not
art?
really, that's not true, but, you know, from an artistic point of view, you know.
What sort of art turns you on then, or do you buy art for your home?
No, not in the slightest, no. I don't know anything about art at all, really. You know, the only person I know is...
Leave it all to do.
It's 3D, actually.
And that's stretching it a bit. That's stretching the metaphor, to be honest.
Go on then, Dave. Are you going to reel off a list of...
No, I'm not actually. I mean, I've never been... I like art, and I'm really turned on by visuals and graphic images and symbolic images and all that sort of stuff, but I've never been a great sort of like art historian, you know what I mean? And I sort of try and get into what I like, and I often find it, you know, by accident, as opposed to actively seeking out something, bump into it. It's a better way of doing it. It's like books, you bump into them, music, rather than sort of trying to delve too deep in one place. I don't like doing that. I'd rather sort of like just see what comes your way, and, you know, sort of things happen. It's more fun that way.
You contributed a piece of music to Mark Quinn's. How did that come about?
Just purely through chance. I mean, I sort of discovered his work, you know, by accident again about 3 years ago. Really got into it, and through a sort of mutual acquaintance, we found he was doing this South Bank Show film, and we had some music. So let's try some stuff out. And it's cool. He's a great artist.
And again, he's going to be a visual thing. Is he going to give a?
Yeah, but you know,
a perspex.
Maybe take some of his best pieces off his hands. Some of his more expensive works.
I think so. I mean, the band itself has always been. I mean, you know, these sort of always had a big input into the visual look of what you produce, of the stage shows, the sleeve artwork. How important is the visual image of Massive Attack as opposed to the music that you actually produce?
It's always been important because we've always had the. You know, it seems crazy to get to sort of find yourself in this really great position and not take an interest in how it looks, what it's wrapped in. I mean, if you think about it, I mean, the first contact you might get with a new album, something from a band, is by the artwork or an ad or something, you know, a shop window display, a fly poster, or a video. You know, obviously you're talking about moving pictures, but it's got to be. It's all important because if it lets it down, it's not really doing justice to what the 3 years you spent in the studio. And because, you know, there's so many things coming our way, ideas, and because obviously being visual just means that we collate as many images as we do bits of music. So by the time it's ready to go, you know, it's kind of, there's a lot of ideas already there, you know, sort of that go alongside the album very organically. It's sort of meeting up with a load of sort of like designers at the end of an album going, oh, I like that guy's work, or this photograph. It's kind of crap that way, you know. Some people will finish a record and go, best video director, best graphic artist, best stylist, and it's fucking bollocks, you know.
But you were actually making visual art before you started making music, is that right? Yeah.
But then it was that whole kind of hip hop thing as well. The whole thing was very much, you know, after the punk thing, which was very visual as well. As you know, the way it looked, the way people looked, the hip hop thing was sort of like a bit of a kind of, you know, slightly different evolution, but it was also very visual. You know, it was a lot of it was about the way it looked, the images you saw.
Is that what you did?
Yeah, there's always been a kind of link up with, you know, from the time you were in the Bar Bunch.
Yeah.
You know, being involved with D and so, you know, you know, there's always been the backdrop has always been a visual thing as
Yeah.
well. So to us, we've always looked at it as the same importance, you know.
And you both sort of always seem to rate Wild Style and these sort of seminal hip hop images as having a very important sort of influence on you as kids growing up in Bristol, and the visual look of hip hop always seems to have a very strong impact on you.
Yeah, of course, because you know, like Dee was saying, that was, you know, that could probably be the first contact that you have with, you know, the graffiti was another aspect of hip hop, you know, that we loved, you know, and sort of music. So we've always grown up with that, and we've always had that as a thing, but it's always developed, you know, it's never stayed the same. It's just, you know, progressed into something else.
Okay.
And it's what we got now, really, which is good.
Cool, okay. Let's cut to another question coming in here. Tony asked Massive Attack, I play in a trip-hop band that borrows a lot from Massive Attack. Stylistically, I was wondering if you see imitation as the greatest form of flattery and condone this, or if you prefer me to burn in a fiery hell.
Fiery hell? Fiery hell, depends, mate.
Fiery
Theoretical hell.
What's the question again?
Do you want to burn, or is it good?
Is imitation the sincerest form of flattery, or I mean, how do you feel when you hear a band that obviously?
Well, the thing is, we've always been influenced by the things, you know, around us from day one, really. So we've kind of taken on some time, not necessarily a direct take on it, but you know, a piece of the vibe type of thing, you know, or taking something with us. So
The most important thing is someone. If it's only worth doing if you're doing it for yourself, though. Ultimately, otherwise, you might as well go fucking stars in your eyes. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah. Okay. I mean, you would.
But no, I'm not necessarily against imitation as such. You know what I mean?
Presumably, you would hope that people listen to your music and then add their own thing.
Yeah, add their own little thing and take it to a different stage, really.
And not.
Hold it. Yes, mate. Do you want to put it in there? Cheers.
You're not, man.
Okay, just put it down here, mate. It's fine.
That's all right.
Put it right there, my son.
Well, that's Dee's drinking taken care of.
Sorted then.
That'll just help them out, actually.
Sorry. That's okay.
Thanks, mate. Somebody give him a tip.
He's sweating.
Somebody stop the guy with a tip.
You got anything to... Where were we before the...
Just done stars in your eyes.
Yeah, I mean... because Blue Lines took this template of soul, hip-hop, reggae and whatever, and beautiful vocals and strings and this whole thing, that package seemed to get borrowed wholeheartedly by a whole set of bands.
But I think the thing is, when you look at sort of moments like Blue Lines or other albums which, you know, sort of like sum up a bit of, you know, whether you're looking at Screamadelica or Soul to Soul, you know what I mean, things that happened at that time, and you can say that was a moment, but really it's just part of a history. So Blue Lines just fitted into a sort of mechanic of history. We were drawing on influences that go back, you know, went back 10 years before that album was made. So it's not like, you know, it came out of nowhere. So when you see things that you think, oh god, that's a bit like us, you've got some other people moving the same timeline as you, also experiencing the same things and getting influenced by the same music and all the rest of it. So I think it's cool, but
how do you look back on Blue Lines now, sort of nearly 10 years after it came out then?
It's hard to remember what it was like doing it then, isn't it, really? Fucking hell, I can't remember.
It was a long time. Well, you can literally not remember, mate.
You can't uneducate yourself, that's the problem. When we started Blue Lines, we didn't have a fucking clue, and it's really hard to sort of try and strip that back, that kind of, all these years in the studio being tormented and depressed.
Tormented and depressed.
I mean, and sort of go, no, it was great back then, but you can't really fucking remember.
Because I've heard people say, I'm not bullshitting, people say, our child was conceived listening to Blue Lines, or this amazing event in my life happened.
There we are too, sort of...
We've got kids, haven't we? So that's a bit of a sad comment, really, isn't it? You know, this, especially the most smoochiest album in the love-making album, and
exactly, the best shag soundtrack ever.
Well, so people say, yeah.
I shouldn't imagine you'd be able to make love to your own music.
I've had a good go.
It's done.
That's it.
It's like fucking yourself up the ass, really, isn't it?
I won't take it that far.
No, maybe not. The analogy's there anyway.
Good, right.
As long as I see anything to say, mate.
Moving on swiftly. Have a look. Jamie Day asked Massive Attack, are there any plans for a DVD video to be released telling the story of Massive Attack? So far, what plans are there for a tour? That's a whole new question. Are there any plans for the life story of Massive Attack, and presumably which will be your high points in the story?
That'd be the Courage Clock, wouldn't it? I mean, that's the end when you start doing that. You start doing a retrospect on yourself. You might as well. That's when you're sort of like expecting the gold watch.
Box set time.
Exactly. I mean, we did
You
the
don't
bop.
really feel like the Phil Collins era of your career then?
Exactly. We're kind of almost there. I mean, you know.
I think in a way, if we did that, it'd be sort of something like Dallas or Dynasty, really, wouldn't it? That sort of way.
Oh, it'd have quite a big cast, that's for sure.
Yeah, there'd be a very big cast.
But no, I mean, we're not really planning to sort of summarise ourselves that way because it's really kind of difficult. You know what I mean?
I suppose it's kind of saying that you've almost got nothing left to give creatively when you start doing that kind of thing.
Well, in a way, but then if you look at when we sort of make music, you do look at your past all the time and your influences that do come from that way, rather than sort of, you know, you're always striving to go in this direction, but everything you're taking is from there, you know, because that's what it's all about. So this history is always fucking part of the makeup of every record. But I don't think you really want to sit there and kind of completely sort of like put it in a box and go, this is the way it was, this is the way it happens, and this is what it's all about. You know, it's really difficult.
G?
To be honest, I kind of think because we're all from sort of different sort of backgrounds and stuff like that and whatever, it's kind of hard to sort of really come out with one definitive story about where everything came from, because I think when you get together as, you know, what we are, you kind of pull on a certain thing to make it work with the other people. So like, say if Dee was to go off and do something on his own, then it would be a different story, I think, really. So it's kind of hard to sort of come up with one.
Why did you say that?
I really don't know what I'm talking about, but it sounds good, doesn't it?
That's scary. You keep playing out my solo career for me, which is pretty funny.
No, I'm not playing it so good at all, mate, no.
How important
is it? Not anyway.
Maybe
not today, maybe tomorrow.
I mean, a lot of your strength obviously comes from the fact that you're not. I can't think of another duo. Never mind. You're not just feeding off ideas. A lot of your strength seems to come from seeing talent in other people and bringing that into the unit, and that seems something that you.
It's not. I know people sometimes get mistaken, like as if we have some kind of like gift or some Midas touch where we sort of pick people up and sort of like turn them into stars or create good success out of them. But what we're always doing is just listening to music and the textures we hear. You know, you visualise a voice. You know, because we don't. Our vocals only go a certain way. You know, you know your limitations. And being male, and the band's always been very male. It's always good to work with females because it brings that dimension to it, a completely different sort of set of feelings. And it's not about the kind of. It's more about each track and each person at a time. You know, that's what's really happening. If you know, working with Elizabeth is about how she works over a piece of music. You know, it's all those elements, as opposed to sort of like looking at people going, let's try that, let's try this. It's very deliberate. You know.
How did the link with Liz Fraser originally come about then?
Just inquisitive, isn't it? Really?
Yeah. Well, I think, you know, the link with Liz sort of came about before this, wasn't it? We were after her for protection.
Yeah.
Really.
Dissed us though.
She dissed us. Well, she didn't diss us. I think it's the other guy who dissed us, really, wasn't it? But anyway. But you know, we've always loved Liz, and you know, like Dee said, you know, you look at her voice, and you know, with us, it was like, wow.
You're both big Cocktail Twins fans.
This would be the voice for what we're trying to do.
Yeah.
You know, same thing with Tracy, really.
Yeah.
You know, it was always that voice sprung to mind. You know?
And that brings us to a question that's just come in from Farouk Chishti. Asked most of the time, is Liz Fraser involved in your next record?
Liz is actually, she's been in the studio today, so yeah.
I saw Liz this morning actually.
Oh, there you go.
She was busy away in the studio, wasn't she?
She's really good now, she's really up for it, and I think we felt that, so after Protection we did a couple of tracks with Tracy, and a couple more that no one heard. I think we felt, you know, with the way that what they wanted to do and what we wanted to do, that we probably sort of reached that point, you know, we did what we could do. But with Elizabeth, I think it's just such a different way of working. It's much more mysterious, more abstract, and sort of more magical in the sense. I mean, that's not you know, I'm not comparing the two at all because they're both, you know, amazing artists. But I think we did feel we felt it was unfinished business with Liz, really. Do you know what I mean? There's a lot more to explore.
You both big Cocktail Twins fans anyway,
mate.
Sorry, mate.
Mate. Landed in my lap.
Do you want some?
Yeah, that's some.
Sorry.
Do you want some?
John, carry on.
Yes, thank you. You're both big Cocktail Twin fans anyway, aren't you?
I wasn't a massive. I mean, one of the bands I liked. I wasn't like, you know, completely sucked in. I thought they were, you know, they're an amazing band. A voice. But at that time I was in so many different types of music, so I had to concentrate. You know what I mean?
Well, at that time I was kind of working in the record shop, you know, so I was kind of selling quite a lot of Liz's, you know, Cocktail Twin stuff. So I was kind of quite aware of what Liz was doing at the time, you know.
Right.
You had to pay for it, didn't you?
I'm going to say what.
Have you-
My boss was a good bloke. So I'm not.
G doesn't pay for anything.
Do you want some of this, John?
Yeah, thank you very much. Yeah, lovely. Here's a good controversial one. Rob Hobson, there's a question come in just here now from Rob Hobson asks Massive Attack. On the last album, you went for a more aggressive punk sound. Speaking personally, that alienated me a lot as a huge, and I mean huge, fan of the previous two albums. Given the album's reception, do you regret the direction that you took with the benefit of hindsight?
Given the album's reception.
That's a bit of a
Well, exactly, yeah. That's
rhetorical question, isn't it?
Is it coming from a personal point of view then?
Although it did sell an enormous amount of copies, I believe.
Well, no, you can't use fucking hindsight and regret what you do. You do what you did at the time because it means something, you know. It's not, you don't take a sort of like decision to sort of go in a certain direction because for commercial reasons or for any other reasons, just for yourself, it's what you're about at that moment.
Yeah.
And the albums, it's, you know, people sometimes I think are under the impression that you sit down and have a committee meeting about what you're going to do. But it's actually, you've been for fucking 3 years. You know, day by day, you know, fucking around with tracks, really getting into it, or not, as the case may be. It's a very laborious and strung out process. And so you don't sort of look back after and go, in hindsight, I wish we hadn't done that, because that was your life, you know, you just don't do that.
Well, it certainly would have been easier for you to have just made another template of Blue Lines and Protection.
It's not actually, people think that, but also that's impossible as well, because I think by the nature of what we do, because we don't come from a traditional background, like I was saying earlier, it's more abstract in the way we work.
Yeah.
That there's no kind of template, to be honest, you know. There's things we take with us, there's traits, there's history, there's ideas we've got, but we don't actually have a sort of like a fucking paint by numbers Massive Attack plan, do you know what I mean? Where we go from A to Z, and that's the track, you know, it never works that way at all. Even if you wanted to, even if in your sort of wildest dreams you wanted to be able to sort of make another one of your favourite tracks over and over again, it wouldn't happen.
Well, that's where I see similarities between you and The Clash, you know, I mean, I know you're both big fans, you know, and they weren't afraid to take anything and put it into what they were doing.
Exactly.
And I think, you know, in some ways their sort of legacy is bands like yourself and Left Field and people that aren't afraid to just chuck everything in and see how you get on with it.
The thing with The Clash is like, sorry mate, it's like just saying that one of the things about The Clash was the fact that, you know, I mean, there's only a few bands that I really love that have a lead singer I can listen to over and over again, you know, like a few bands like sort of Blur or Radiohead maybe, that are, you know, really great, you know what I mean, or sort of, I don't know, I'm trying to think of other examples, you know, D'Angelo, even his last album is amazing, you know, but you do get other voices coming in. I like that, man.
The first album was great.
Is it?
Yeah.
But I mean, the things with like The Clash, there was always a mixture of voices. You know, Strummer, Jones, Simmons, Mikey Dread, you know, Futura 2000, all that stuff was a real influence on us. The fact you could sort of like switch from sort of like voice to voice and still have a sort of like a real complete album, which didn't sound like a compilation.
And also the idea that, you know, it's no bad thing to have a go at music videos. Does anyone else interest you, i.e. Chris Cunningham, Paul Hunter, Hype Williams, David Fincher?
Chris Cunningham we came close to last time, didn't we?
Right.
But
Cool, Chris Cunningham.
I mean, he's probably the best person out at the moment working in that field, you know, and beyond really. He's obviously, it's not, I hate to think of someone that talented being sort of bracketed as a video pop promo director or whatever.
What stuff has he done then for the benefit of...
No, we nearly worked on him with Angel.
Okay.
It just didn't kind of happen because he was doing another track at the time and it kind of went over and it was one of those really kind of boring sort of like business sort of setups, but I mean, you know, we really love to work with him again. David Fincher, again, you know, someone we'd love to work with, you know. His visual sense really appeals to us, you know, so hopefully that'll happen.
Hype Williams, you know, it's great, but, you know, I don't think it's for us really.
What stuff has he done then? I'm an ignorant.
Well, he does everything for the hip hop.
Okay.
You know what I mean? That's
right.
If anybody wants to.
Did Ronnie's last video?
Yeah, Ronnie Sizes, yeah.
Oh, right.
Yeah. But, you know, he's
the very
more
steely stuff that Ronnie did, those sort of brown paper bag, those kind of...
I've never actually seen any of the videos, but...
They did the last track, which is kind of very sort of like handheld, rough, really confrontational, whereas before his stuff was very slick. All the sort of hip-hop videos in the last few years have been based on his template, you know.
Sort of Busta Rhymes and see it and that sort of stuff, you know, fisheye lens, close-up, sort of crazy stuff, you know.
Because those early videos, the first kind of four, I mean, Safe from Harm and Unfinished Sympathy, and those kind of one-take Bailey Walsh, those were absolute, you know, classics of their
really
genre.
lucky, I mean, to be honest. It just happened again, sort of like
Incredible
acquaintances.
videos they were, weren't they?
I mean, we've been lucky to sort of start off on that tact and sort of attack, in fact, if I sort of speak correctly. I'm fucking drunk already. But, you know, the working with someone who had a real film sense and we really had a film kind of influence, so we didn't try and make, the whole thing about the video was a short movie, and we try to keep that idea, that sort of like thing going all the way along, which has been really useful for us to have that as a start. And some people haven't been so fortunate, they've worked with people. It's difficult doing a video because you don't really have an idea in mind when you're writing a song. It's a completely different world, and suddenly someone comes in with a visual idea for it which you'd never thought of, and you really have to sort of attach yourself to it suddenly.
Well, I think in a good way with Baby is, he really did have a play on Massive Attack. He really did his homework about us. And,
he understood where you...
Yeah, we kind of knew him on a personal basis,
Yeah.
And, he started making videos, around about the same time we started making music, sort of thing, really.
Yeah.
So it was kind of this real sort of adventurous sort of venture that we had, So it was kind of quite exciting, really, wasn't it?
Very exciting.
No need for sarcasm. I'll come over and have you in a minute, right?
What happened? Because he made... what was the last one he made for you? Be Thankful for What You Got, the infamous stripper video. Did he do that?
Yeah, the one that Raymond... Yeah, well, I would say what it is, but, the stripper video.
Do you look back on that as something you regret, or
no? It was brilliant.
Any regrets?
I thought it was really good.
No, no comment whatsoever. Okay. Here's another question just come in. PCBH again. What has happened to Souvenirs, the track that was supposed to be on the Beach soundtrack, which Liam Howlett also worked on? P.S. Here's a nice one. Just have to say that Massive Attack, you are the greatest band on the planet.
Who's that from?
This is from R. Del Naja, I think. And this is from PCBH. He says, "You are the greatest band on the planet. You create the most innovative and creative music man has ever heard. Man's ever heard. Thank you for providing me and the other fans with such excellent music." Is that kind of thing?
That sort of comment is obviously, fucking makes it all worth it. People really get off on it that much. I mean, it'd be hard to sort of to even consider being the best band or making the best music on the planet. Because it'd be impossible. But it's a lovely thing to say, and the track with Liam is still sort of on hold until the right thing comes along. I think
Right.
Hopefully it's going to be on his next album. It's a good track to work with. He's a very talented geezer. Obviously, he's a great bloke, and it was fun.
Because that took up a lot of time, didn't it? That Souvenirs track.
It wasn't.
Was it called No Souvenirs?
No Souvenirs. Yeah. It didn't take up a lot of sort of physical time in a sense. It was just because there was a film involved. All the politics involved in that was difficult. Always is.
And you didn't feel that the tone of the track fitted in with its place in the film.
It wasn't so much the film. It was more to do with the fact that these days when a film's made, the whole soundtrack album thing becomes a completely different ballgame. And it becomes sort of like a whole marketing thing. And instead of writing a piece of music for a film, in terms of sort of incidental music or writing something to capture the mood of a film, you end up being involved in someone else's marketing plan to sell a film, or to sell an album. You know what I mean? You don't want to be involved in with loads of artists you don't really care about. And so it was just a case we sort of felt we got pulled into something we weren't about, so sort of pulled away pretty quick.
I mean, there is, we talked about the sort of visual impact and the labels and the videos and stuff like that. And it's interesting that the artists that you've decided to bring onto your label are all, pardon me, people that there's a very sort of filmic feel to what they do as well. I mean, obviously Craig and Alpha as well are getting loads of soundtrack offers as well. I mean, do you think that's a coincidence or?
No, not a coincidence at all, really, is it?
No, I think it's kind of a deliberate thing. We kind of choose bands who have their own sort of distinctive feel, or sort of a way of sort of putting their music across. Alpha, Suna, Craig and stuff like that. So, it's not as though we pick sort of cheap bands, really. I hate that word, cheap bands, but a lot of bands who have a lot of scope to them.
Is there a criteria that you'd say that they are a melancholic? Is there a reason why you'd look at a band and think that they're there for the label?
No, not at all. I think about the label was we'd be so lucky to meet so many good people, and also a lot of good people in Bristol, very close to us. Sort of in around the studio and in the pub or whatever, and in the pub,
quite literally.
In fact, in the pub, yeah, not the studio. But it's just kind of, we always want to do that. I think the whole thing about starting off as like a sound system and playing other people's music is that you always have an understanding of other people's music. As opposed to being very, it's not all selfish. When you're on your sort of level, doing your own tracks, it's all about you and what you're doing. But also to be able to sort of appreciate other music, which is the most important thing as well. It meant that creating a label was obviously the next step for us, and we're just lucky enough to meet these people, and everyone we try and work with is very, has, like G said, has a very particular and idiosyncratic style, something which is very personal to them, the same way, and we can feel that they have the same kind of like connection to their music as we have, the same passion, you know. That's the most important thing, the passionate thing.
Yeah, there was always an element of, you know, when we started doing the Massive Attack thing, that we had our own identity and our own thing going. It was quite strong. You know, we couldn't really sort of get, you know, the record company couldn't really interfere with what we were doing because it was like we knew exactly what we were going for. And, you know, that's the type of thing that we're looking in other bands, really.
What, an uncompromising vision?
Yeah, you can't compromise your shit, you know what I mean? If you've got something going down, then, you know, you've got to be quite tunnel visioned about what you want. And if other people can see that sort of where you're from, you know, it's like Johnny, for instance. Johnny's kind of, you know, from Suno's.
Johnny Harris, yeah.
Yeah, Johnny Harris.
Yeah.
You know, he knows exactly where he's going, you know what I mean, sort of thing. And we kind of appreciate that. And all we're trying to do is just give him a hand to get to where he wants to go to the next stage, you know?
Yeah.
And likewise with the other bands, you know?
We're not a sort of label that has like an A&R team where we sort of go out looking for the right thing for the right moment. It's more about the people who know exactly what they want and believe in what they want, and they get on with it. And we just stay peripheral, you know. I mean, obviously a lot of work goes down in the office with Mark, our manager, and everyone who works in the office, Nikki and Wendy. They also work in the office for our Stanford Melancholic. It's a very serious day-to-day job, a lot of work, lot of stress. But the most important thing is the bands and the individuals really know exactly what they fucking want, you know.
And very uncompromising, like G said, in terms of, I mean, Sunna sounds very, very. I mean, how important was it you to release something which people wouldn't associate with, you know, a label that had spawned people like Craig and Alpha and stuff like that? I mean, Sunna's a completely different musical.
That's the thing. It's a bit of a wind-up because I kind of feel that some opinion is of that we kind of like deliberately go out and look for things that are different, you know, so that we can seem sort of to be very clever, but it's not the point. It's like the people we've met and the people we've chosen to work with are very, very fucking creative and very individual. So it's not about let's find something that's very different from the other things on the label. It's about the fact that it's great music, and that's it. It's all there is to it.
Yeah, I think we're kind of fortunate in the way that a lot of people actually, you know, realise that we're actually not from the music that we make, and over the last 3 albums, I forgot how many albums we made. 3.5 albums.
3 years per album.
Yeah,
10 years.
That, you know, we haven't compromised either about how we sort of present our music, and the people that we've been involved with have realised that and they've come to us, you know. So
exactly,
we've been able to sort of cherry pick quite a lot of good stuff, you know.
Is that right? Is that a bit biz?
My first
bit fucking biz, man. Live as well.
Oh my god.
Yeah, too long in the music business, CJ. Right then, time.
Drink actually. Cherry pick.
Is that a top-up time? Okay, time for a lighter question. Gian Piero, sorry if I pronounced that wrong, from Napoli.
Oh, I got to go to the toilet though. One second.
I'll be right. Wait, that's all right.
You can you feel the football question coming on? For 3D, we need you to manage Napoli Footy Club. It's not possible to go like this.
Mate,
how are Napoli doing for the benefit of our uninformed web?
Very disastrous start to the season.
Right.
I mean, they can see me swelling up already.
It's swelling up, it's a passion.
It's tragic, do you know what I mean? It is, and it's a shame because if it was a city in the world that needed a great football team and needed sort of people to inspire them and sort of like reflect the passion of the city. So again, Mandora.
Yeah.
It needs that reflected in its football. It's a very football place. It's a big deal to them, and it's a complete and utter fucking tragedy that this has happened to the people of Naples. Do you know what I mean? Maradona was the last god, and but the problem is everyone's waiting for the next Maradona, but it's not going to happen.
Right, I
complete one-off fucking genius. Right? I know I'm going to go on a bit, but
where are they?
Flawed genius.
You carry on, kid. You just carry on, mate.
But at the moment, I mean, they're struggling. They just changed manager last week, and you know, I'm not sure how that's going to go. I don't know if that's going to work. Last night they started fucking around with the managers. They went down to Serie B, which was again.
Are they back in Serie A now?
Yeah, they're back up there, but they've got like a split presidential sort of scenario, 2 presidents, and it's all a bit of a mess. It's a messy business. The club isn't being handled in a professional way, I think, and the people deserve a lot better, and they'll get it eventually, you know. That's all I can say.
Do you feel do you feel you make an uncompromising football manager? Are you a man motivated?
I couldn't manage a football team to save my life, to be honest, mate. You know, couldn't do it. Couldn't fucking do it. You know. G could. I mean, he had trials with Bristol City, of course, which leads into the next football scenario.
Unfortunately, I did. Yeah. No, not for Bristol City. No, it was Bristol Boys, which was kind of the same. It would lead on to Bristol City, really, and Bristol Rovers. But yeah, I'm a good football player.
Well, you scored a great goal in the what was that? The Massive Attack versus Blur or something, Euro 2000 game at Wembley.
No, get it right, John. It was the Wembley England versus Scotland match at Wembley.
What, you were Gaza, flicking it over your head and volleying it into the net?
I'm Gaza.
But you scored a great goal, I remember.
John, do you remember who insisted on that goal?
Was it Del Naja?
It was a great left foot assist, you know, it set him fucking free in the area, do you know what I mean? We slotted it past the keeper.
With his knobbly knees. Wasn't Gaz from Supergrass sick during that game? Because he was running around too much.
He was spending his time falling over, wasn't he? The ball was quite ridiculous, really.
It was also the most embarrassing days of my life, you know what I mean? They took us to Wembley and had our names on our shirts in the dressing rooms and all that shit, and Jeff first gave us our medals and it was all beautiful, it was like boys' own stuff, but...
Yeah.
30 seconds into that match,
you were dying.
We were just fucking dead, all of us. Everyone sort of like.
It was the funniest thing you've ever seen on video.
Oh, was there?
Yeah, it was brilliant. I've actually got the video of it. When you see us playing football, it was kind of hilarious. Yeah, we thought we were having it large, and we were shit.
Oh, you got a video of the event, did you?
Yes.
You got the whole lot.
It's hilarious.
Fucking flying down the wing, do you know what I mean? As far as you can't see anything, it's just a fucking motion blur going past your face, and then you're just trotting, do you know what I mean? On that big pitch. You've already made a fucking dent in the turf, it's a nightmare.
But then, having said that.
Was it a hallowed visit to the hallowed turf though?
Well, the good thing about it, the funny thing about it really is,
walking into the dressing room and
not, you know, even professional football players haven't even reached Wembley, and the fact that we got the opportunity, the good thing about it, the fact that we got the opportunity, that we got the opportunity to play there, it's brilliant.
You know what I mean? We didn't sit like
blaggers. Disgraceful.
Blaggers, all right?
Absolutely.
Top blaggers, mate.
Absolutely. There's none better, I assure you. Right there. Pardon me. Alan Cook. Come on down, asked Massive Attack. Is the artwork featured on the site going to be exhibited? Can you just explain what artwork we're talking about specifically?
What's this, mate?
It's in its ropey form in the back room.
Okay.
It's well, to be honest, I mean, the old exhibition thing is a bit. It's not really the purpose of it. The thing is, it's about sort of visuals being sort of accessible and available in the sort of digital form, and I think when you do an exhibition, it becomes a different thing. You know, it becomes a very personal sort of moment, and this isn't a personal thing; it's about the band. So I don't really want to make it into an exhibition. Hopefully, some of the images we're going to blow up onto sort of big light boxes and have them at the sort of party we're doing, you know, in December with the sort of boys coming down to Bristol. But that'll be it for now. There's no big plans, to be honest.
Do you want to say a bit about the party then, seeing as you mentioned it?
It's going to be great.
Yeah, there's well, every year we have this, you know, big party in Bristol, you know, and in fact, I'm not going to start advertising the club. There's a new club that's opening, and you know, you've got Liam and James.
He's a resident DJ.
No, I'm not at all.
Are you playing there tomorrow night, by any chance?
Yeah.
Start your residency.
Yeah, that's it. Every Saturday. Now, there's a new club opening in Bristol, and we're kind of doing a party there, really. And it's Liam, a good friend of Dee's, and James and stuff like that coming down.
But there is quite a tradition of massive parties at Christmas, isn't there? Going back all the way back to the Wild Bunch, and the party that I went to at the Brunel Sheds at Christmas '86 or whatever it was with Jerry Dammers.
Yeah.
That was quite a bender, I seem to remember.
But like you said, there's always been a tradition of us doing parties, you know.
Parties on the Downs and sound systems and stuff like that. So are you going to be exhibiting some of the art at the party then?
No, I think we should try and do some on the stage where the DJs are, make it sort of funky, but nothing more elaborate than that, really.
Okay, cool. All right,
that's a full stop.
Okay, Stu Martin asked Massive Attack. Any plans for more gigs in Bristol? I still haven't got over the Anson Rooms gig. Gigs ago, it was 4, wasn't it? 4 or 5? 4, I think.
4 gigs, yeah.
4 gigs in December '98. See you in Nanji's shop soon, I expect. I'm the tall guy with glasses who says hello to you in Surround St Andrews, if that means anything whatsoever.
I love that guy.
Who's he talking about?
You, I think. No, cause I think both of us, we're both looking around that. Me and G live on the same road, can you believe it?
Yeah.
In the same city, which is quite bizarre, isn't it? And it was all
is that a
accidental.
chance? Or is that like the Beatles in Help then? You all wanted to buy houses sort of next to each other so you could all sort of borrow pints of milk?
Exactly.
Well, it right, Dee's got about 2 or 3 houses in Bristol, actually, so...
Yeah, I think I've got the same amount of properties as you own in Bristol.
It's like Monopoly, isn't it? Do you sort of club 4 houses together to get a big sort of red
It's all old Kent Road, mate, in Whitechapel, so you can...
So, presumably Bristol gigs will be part of the tour. I mean, there's no actual plans for a tour of any sort till the album comes out?
There's always that thing about you talking about Bristol, you know, we always spoiled documented about what we said about Bristol, that it's kind of quite sad that sort of municipal city like Bristol that hasn't got that many places to play, you know. And it's really quite a sad sort of indictment on the city, on the place, really. That the fact that bands like Portishead, us, Ronnie, and that lot come from here, and there's just nothing to attract, you know, a bigger audience to.
It's a fucking sad indictment on the way the city's set up culturally, you know.
Well, you were forced to play for. Sorry,
I'm saying the city it borrows a lot from its in terms of it being a sort of a city in inverted commas, from its kind of like its individuals, you know, and groups of people who make things happen. But there's a very sort of serious lack of communication between the artists, if you want to call it, of the city, the people of the city, and the council and the planners. And there's a major gap there, and it just leaves a real fucking void in the city and a big hole, you know. When you go to a lot of places like Dublin, in sort of like close to home, even Glasgow, London obviously is not, can't really include London being a capital city, being the centre of attention, but other cities in Europe, you know, Milan and Rome and fucking sort of like Paris, Berlin, there's a great sort of connection between the culture, the artists, the people and the city. It feels, when you walk into a city like that, when you go on tour for instance, being lucky enough to visit them, you can feel the place and you can feel the connection between the people in the city as an identity, whereas Bristol just seems to sort of rely on its past history and that is it. It's a maritime port and that's it. That's all we got going for ourselves, and there's no identity apart from that. And because of the sort of like the major sort of rise in student population, it's almost become like a beach town where everything dies when the students go home. And that's a real shame, because Bristol had a real sort of proper identity years ago, had a real sort of feeling for itself, but that's been sort of drained out of it. And I think it's about time those communications were sort of open, the lines are open, and people sort of like discussing what the city needs as opposed to what the business needs, you know.
Yeah, totally.
Well, what do you think the city needs, G, to make it a more vibrant cultural place?
You know, not meaning to be sort of clothed about what we're talking about, but you know, it's a city where we come from, and you know, we want to be proud of where we come from, and you know, for starters, they need to sort of readdress the fact that there's certain things that are putting Bristol on the map, you know, and they should actually sort of put a bit of money back into the arts and whatever, really, you know what I mean?
Right, I see.
Enhance what's going on.
I mean, do you think the Bristol site is kind of sort of held back by its slavery heritage? And there's a famous stuff about you refusing to play at the Colston Hall because of Edward Colston's.
Well, there's that
slavery.
element, yeah, but you know, I think, to be honest, you know, getting down to brass tacks, you know, it's fucking sad, really. You know, that's the bottom line. You know, we're trying to campaign for something, you know, a bigger place for bands to play and stuff like that, but you know, no one's listening. And like Dee's saying, you know, there should be more communication between the higher authorities and, you know, the people who are actually, you know, putting this place on the map.
It's a simple thing. It's an international problem. It's about taxes. It's about how your money's spent. It's about, you know, what sort of say you have in your environment you live in. It's been there forever. It's never going to change. But there can be things done to sort of influence the way things work, and you know, environments for people to sort of like develop the things in the city which are good. You know what I mean? That need to be done. I mean, you know, studio space, rehearsal space for live gigs. Do you know what I mean? More money into art, visual art, theatre. I mean, everything's going on. There's a lot of TV down there. There's the Watershed, there's the Armafini, there's urban animation, there's bands, but they're all very isolated. They're all islands. Do you know what I mean? They're very separate. You know, and every time something happens in the city, a new building opens, or whatever, it never seems to be that anyone had any communication, any idea of what was going to happen. It turns up, it appears, millions of pounds get spent, and people have to sort of decide after the event. It just seems ridiculous that communication isn't there.
I mean, you've chosen to sort of carry on working in Bristol. You're obviously both from Bristol. Your backup team, your studio people, your technicians are all local people. I mean, was there a point where you both decided, right, we're going to stay put, we're going to make the most of it here, we're going to make our studio a creative place, or is it you just happy living here?
I mean, you know, we spend a lot of time in London, obviously, like everyone does. You know, it works in the same business we do, and we've got a lot of friends up there and a lot of work up there. But it's not.
Massive Attack. There's a question just come in from Damon. It said, if you were stranded on a deserted island, not a desert island, deserted island, what 3 things would you want to have with you? Gee, I can tell one thing that you might want to have with you.
Well, for starters, water, food, and a bit of spliff.
I
think water, food, and spliff. That's about it for me. You know what I mean?
Food, clothes and shelter doesn't come into it. Water, clothes and spliff.
Yeah, you know, if it's sunny enough, that's fine.
Make a palm house.
No, I think the choice is a bit limited for me, actually. I could never be deserted on an island without about 10 items, really.
Those questions are really difficult, because you take them really seriously. They're not meant to be taken seriously.
No, I think a flippant answer might come in nicely.
satellite TV, pornography. I don't know. Maybe those things might come useful during your own. I don't know. But obviously not. You should say
sitting on a desert island watching porn on a big video.
Why not, mate? On a plasma.
Cool. You all right? Sorry.
Anybody got any Rizzle out there? Please.
Have a top of that lovely Cristal while you're at it.
Yeah, sure thing. Yeah.
Thank you very much. You don't ask. You don't.
It's the first time John's ever drunk Cristal, actually, as it happens.
Well, it is. I'm a very cheap.
Live on,
I'm a very cheap kind of guy. Actually. Thank you very much.
There you go, mate.
All right. Foxy. Just come in. There's a question just come in from Foxy. Oh no, there's an even better one actually from Foxy. 3D mentioned that he was listening to different genres of music before while recording. What were some of those albums, and did any of them serve as inspiration for anything on the new record?
There's a lot of albums, a lot of old second-hand albums, and I'm not even going to try and name them because I can't remember.
Okay, cool.
Can?
Oh, can. Everyone uses can these days.
Okay, here's one for G. Bex has just got a typed question in. Bex asked Massive Attack, sitting in anticipation of Daddy G's DJ set in Belfast on Saturday.
When you played Belfast?
When was that?
When was I playing in Belfast?
Anyway, moving swiftly on. I was just wondering, would either of you rather work as solo artists, or is Massive Attack the way of the future for you both?
That's a really good question, actually. We can reveal now and there what
well, do you actually hate each other and you
actually love each other right now?
I don't really know, really. I think there's a lot of things that, you know, maybe that we cover in the studio that we might just leave alone because, you know, we're trying to sort of interact, you know what I mean? So
yeah.
I think maybe, I don't know, who knows in the future, you know, like what could happen.
I mean, the thing is, when you're sort of getting on and you're sort of like happy in what you're doing, there's loads of room for sort of like doing your own thing and being comfortable with that. There's no competition. It's just, you know, we're comfortable with each other, what we're doing, so we can do other things, and it's not a problem. You know, it's not a competitive thing at all. It's camaraderie, and it means you've got space to do what you want to do, to sort of like move in other directions. But we both know that we've got each other's sort of like feelings in our hearts. Do you know what I mean? So we will work together, and we'll try not to sort of piss each other off and fuck each other up. Do you know what I mean?
And the fact is, you know, we've been working together for like 17 years now,
really?
Which is kind of quite a long time. So.
Can you remember the first time you two met then? Or was it lost in a smoky haze in the dugout?
No, not at all, no, because like, all that illusion about massive smoking loads of spliffs and all that isn't
it's just nonsense.
It's
isn't
nonsense,
it,
really. You know, they didn't press. Well, I smoke for the band, and it's always been like
well, you're
that.
smoking for two, really, aren't you?
I smoke for 5.
My parents give me grief forever because of his habits, you know what I mean?
It's not about that at all, you know. But, you know, we've got a good understanding, you know, we have our ups and downs, and, you know,
like
we
a
love
marriage,
each other, we hate
really?
each other, and, you know, but that's kind of the exciting thing about working together, really. You know, it's not bullshit, because, you know, we do get off on working together still, you know, after all those times. So there's still something, you know, in essence, that's still there with Massive.
Cool.
I think, to be honest, we're the most humble of the whole bunch, really, so we've the two humble ones have always stuck together, really. I mean, the Wild Bunch, you know, because it's been a long sort of rocky process from, like, the Wild Bunch involved with Miles and Nelly and Mushroom and all that to where we are now. So, you know, it's all good.
I mean, there's been I mean, for a film, it would have a huge cast, wouldn't it?
Yeah, certainly.
The whole malarkey, Nelly on his yachts, fanning around with Madonna.
But, like, you know, I think the two principal members are still I think the talent's still
Who would play you in a film of Massive Attack, though, G? Who would be man enough to take that on? Okay, moving on to the purely obscure, Azul has typed in a question. I recently listened to the new track Nature of Threat. I've been
I hated it.
You hated it?
No, and they hated it.
Oh well, let's have a look. I've been listening to your music for a very long time and saw the many changes. This song is even darker than Mezzanine. Will you still stay true to the beautiful vocal pieces that I adore your music for? Will there be featured female vocalists on your future records? I think you've kind of answered that already, haven't you?
Yeah, I mean that track, to be honest, was very sort of rushed. It's a track we worked on for a different project which didn't happen, and we sort of like put with the Mark Quinn project, and we just threw a vocal down very quickly, just sort of like just for a laugh, really, to make it sort of complete sketch in a way. It's an unfinished piece of music. It's a bit of fun, nothing more. Shouldn't be taken seriously, to be honest. We've got an idea maybe on this album that we might do the album, might be 10 tracks long, but over the sort of following year after that, you might be able to sort of like download tracks that belong to the album.
I see.
4 or 5 extra tracks, so the album will be incomplete. I think every album should have a set of dotted lines afterwards, because you're never really happy with the way it ends, like I said before. So maybe the tracks you're not completely sort of convinced with at one moment, 2-3 months later you might want to finish, and you add that to the album in your head. So why not let everyone else hear it in the same way?
It's kind of a good thing really to sort of lay down a sort of blueprint of, you know, maybe of a direction that you might be going in, and you know, with us there's so many different infinite directions. That is just one sort of vibe that Dee sort of put down on the track. So you know, it's nice to get something down, and it was kind of, you know, like Dee's saying, it's kind of rough, but you know, it's, you know.
Has this been released then, or how do they hear this track?
This is the one you can download. Downloadable.
Okay. I mean, you've always sort of embraced, you know, you've always had the whole gadget thing going on, and your flat is full of, you know,
nonsense,
plastic rubbish from Japan and all sorts of bits and bobs, and
rubbish.
Not rubbish, toys and gadgets and
it's never rubbish
and bits and bobs. I should say.
I never washed this. It's the state of that. Fucking sleeves on that.
Sticker.
I was just saying you don't have to wash your clothes; they wash themselves. But
is the sticker part of the outfit,
wrong,
or is that on you?
That's actually a label I can get off with a pair of scissors without breaking the tool. But you know, I actually quite like the look now.
Yeah, it's all right.
Crown on my sleeve.
That's I've completely forgotten what I was talking about then.
Next question.
Right. How and why did you link up with the Red Cross? Asks Alan Cook. Question just come in. How's the next album shaping up? But you kind of answered that already. So do you want to say a little bit about the work that you've been doing with the Red Cross so far?
I mean, to be honest, we try our best to sort of get involved in sort of organisations as we tour the world, and as we sort of go around. It sounds really lame, that, doesn't it? As we tour the world, what a load of bollocks. Okay, I'll start that again, but we do.
Globe-trotting kind of guys that you are.
Fucking wank that, doesn't it? As we tour the world, we try and help everybody, but I mean...
Well, you kind of global love ambassadors.
Yeah, exactly, mate. Let's call it a day there, but... I mean, no, we've been involved in everyone we can be, you know, in sort of like, when it seems kind of relevant to do so, you know, because there's so much going on all the fucking time, and, you know, just beyond, over most of our heads, the depth and sort of levels of, sort of the shit that happens in other countries, the suffering. And it just happened to be, during the Mozambique sort of like crisis, we happened to be involved in this Armani situation. And rather than turning it down, we felt we could use the music to good effect. And Bristol was teamed up with a city in Mozambique called Beira. So we felt that, yeah, we can do something direct, which had an immediate response as opposed to something we didn't understand. The Red Cross is different in the sense that it delegates the money in the way it feels is most needed. So it's kind of like a very slow process. But I mean, all these things they go on. It's not like we did this Armani ad and that was it. We're trying to sort of keep the whole sort of thing going on with a T-shirt, which goes, the sales of the Armani T-shirt with our design on goes to charity, and everything we try and do, we're trying to link with that, so we can try and keep the thing moving. I think a lot of people feel that once the headlines have sort of like seeped away, then that's the end of it. But you know, it's still there, isn't it?
And some of the profits from the sale of your book are going to go to
all
the
the
Red
profits,
Cross as well. All of them.
After the production costs of it, which are pretty considerable, unfortunately, because it's like a one-off thing. All the profits will go back to Red Cross. Yeah.
Okay. Do you want to do a plug for the book while we're at it?
No.
No. Okay. Moving on. Jason Stevens has just put a question in. Are you happy with Danny Wilson at the helm for City? As I've been unable to see them this season, as I play myself for Porter Butt FC in Bath.
Plays for who?
Porter Butt.
Okay, Dan. Okay, Porter.
So if you start with your football career, you'd be there as well, mate.
Well, you staying for
Bath City or something, I think, or some crap team like that.
Could have gone one way or the other.
Danny Wilson, he's at the helm of Bristol City, yeah?
Yeah.
I don't know that.
Are you still City? Because you both used to follow City pretty.
Not really, no. I don't
Oh.
follow City. I like him because, you know, that's my part of town. You know, there's an affinity to either one of Rovers or City, but I'm not really into football, really. I am, actually, that's a lie. I'm into Chelsea. What are we talking about? Why shouldn't we say that?
Glamour.
It's all about the glamour, do you know what I mean?
Oh, yes, please. But Danny Wilson, go on.
Danny Wilson. Where do you stand on the Danny Wilson
controversy? Great manager, and it's great that they gave him a chance, you know. And they gave him a chance to sort of like, you know, sort of work slowly. Had a bad start to the season, didn't panic. And it's great that that he's stuck with the kids from last year that sort of come in like Tony Pulis did the season before and just fucking buy a load of old donkeys and try and sort of get them to work to his fucking methods, which is crap. And we all suffered greatly for that, and he just did it properly, you know.
Doesn't he live there?
He's into Luton.
Yeah, well, he's into. Actually, I've got to give him credit. He's a Nottingham Forest fan.
Right, I see.
But it was a bit embarrassing, 3-0 up, you know, it was like, didn't know what to do with yourself, you know, it's like, fucking, I was loving it, but, you know, squirming around my chicken Kiev.
Didn't you sponsor a game? Didn't Massive Attack have their own box at Bristol City?
Yeah, we sponsored a couple of games actually.
Right.
First game of the season, which was a couple of seasons ago, and won last season.
Right.
But like DC, I didn't turn up.
Disgraceful. Habitual non-appearance. Right, I've just got time for a couple more if we can. Going back to PCBH. Another question from him or her. What bass pedal effect, this is getting very anal, was used on Angel? It sounds amazing. I'm sure it's a fuzz one, but not definite.
Is it? I don't know what he means. Is it on the bass line though, or sort of like the kick drum, or what?
Well, it just says bass effect pedal.
It's a bass pedal effect. It probably wasn't a bass pedal that did it, actually. I think we had such a great... It actually came from a
busy
keyboard.
track, isn't it? Right?
It came from a keyboard, the bass line itself, and it took a little bit of overdrive to give it sort of like some sort of body, because it was obviously very sub. And it's quite it's always been a difficult track to sort of mix because it's got a sub quality, and you can't, in certain sort of respects, you can't hear the bass line itself. So you're all struggling to make definition out of it, you know.
Okay. Any memories on this?
Yeah, thank God for that one.
Anything to add to the bass pedal controversy on Angel?
I was too stoned at the time to notice what was going on with the bass pedal, really, to be honest.
Alright. Another question just come in. We've just got a couple more minutes to go. Let's try and fit as many of these in as we can. James Johnson has asked, of the remixes you've done of other artists, which is your favourite? And what is your favourite of the remixes you've done of your own work?
Well, to be honest, I kind of think, you know, what we did with Mad Professor, that was kind of a quite progressive thing. We've always been into dub music, and to make...
What was that, the No Protection?
Yeah, No Protection album, to make a whole album, you know, a dub album, which was, you know, our ambition was really good, getting to that stage, you know.
Okay.
And the fact that, you know, we've always loved Professor and stuff, you know, so I personally would say that, you know, No Protection...
No Protection?
The concept of what we did with No Protection was kind of, you know, quite forward, really.
Do you have other people mix your work?
Quite retrospect, really, to be honest.
Yeah, a lot of people mixed our work. I mean, last album was Manic Street Preachers, Blur, and Primal Scream, and they're all pretty cool mixes.
Do you get pressures about that kind of stuff? Or? No. Have we got time for one more question? Yeah, okay.
We've got time for 10 more questions.
Have we?
You stay there, right? We've got time for 10 more questions.
Can I just say that your mix of Nusrat Fateh Ali Khan...
Well, I was about to get to that, actually.
Yeah, it was probably one of the most exciting mixes. Yeah, it's great. It was such a difficult track to mix because, you know, the language barrier and the fact he was such sort of like a great artist in his field. Do you know what I mean? And we didn't know much about him, to be honest. But we obviously knew that we didn't want to dishonour the track at all in any way because it meant a lot to the people who love him. So it was quite a difficult track to really get our heads around. But we just found a direction.
Heavy track, wasn't it?
It's beautiful. It still is a great track. It still works now, which is what it's all about. It's difficult to make a remix feel like a real track. You know, often you find yourself working with small parameters, and that one was kind of cool, wasn't it?
Yeah, it's brilliant.
Okay. Here's a D classic. What do you think of the state of music today, especially in terms of commercialism and super dominance of an oligarchical few?
It's shite at the moment. Everyone knows it's shite at the moment, and we've got ourselves to blame for it because we entertain the media at the moment. It's all about sort of like. It's all about immediacy and 5 minutes of fame and all that stuff, and that's cool in one way. I mean, it's quite amusing, you know. It's very Andy Warhol fucking hole, you know. But the quality of the music is just appalling at the moment. It's not even. We wouldn't even consider putting a record out right now. There'd be no point in putting a single out. And I really admire Radiohead for doing what they did. We did it with the same with Protection. We didn't put a single out first, and they didn't put any singles out, which is cool, you know, because there's no point. It's just crap.
G, are you down our price every day buying the top 30?
To be honest, I'm quite the opposite to DH. I love it. I love all this shit.
You love pop music?
Yeah, because it makes a real good backdrop for what we're going to come out with next. You know, because it's all shit at the moment, so hopefully when we come out with something...
Whatever you do will be better than what's going on.
Oh, yeah,
we might be shit, but we're better than that shit.
Oh, shit. It really is.
It's a good way to work, isn't it?
It's awful, it really is. Pop music's awful at the moment. You know, it's just sad.
Is there any pop music? Are you a Steps fan, or Bewitched? Wobbling your Trossachs?
Oh, come on, John. You know, seriously... It's not even worth going into it.
I don't fucking mind what they're doing because it has a purpose, obviously, and people are into it, and you can't argue with that at the end of the day. But it does kind of like sort of make people happy, make some people happy. But
it's like Prozac, isn't it?
Exactly, but it fucking works.
Musical Prozac.
But the thing is, when those artists take themselves seriously and sort of after sort of like an album or two, they start sort of growing their hair, going, you know, I was in Paris the other day jamming a track, and you know, I really was busking, and I fucking got the song.
What are we talking about?
fucking any cunt. I don't know. At the end of the day, I mean, it's just when they take themselves seriously. That's when I find it too much to bear. That's when it really hurts.
What you want to be, when they want to be thought of as artists, then
it's frightening, that, isn't it? I mean, celebrity's so cheap now. I mean, to me, there's no such thing as stars. I mean, the only thing that are there are heroes and artists. You know, the only people who really matter. And if you're going to aspire to looking up to
heroes
people,
and artists,
and football players,
absolutely. I think, is that time up? Have we got? Yep.
No, it's not.
No?
No, carry on.
Right, we'll carry on. The new tunes, Andy has asked a question. The new tunes, will you be continuing on a more dark tip? Because you guys do summer really well.
I hate all that dark tip. It's not really about dark tip at all. It's
you don't strike me as dark, sort of.
It's so negative, that dark shit. You know, I think really, to be honest, it's more the case that we're just kind of digging into, you know, things that we've always been into. So from album to album, if it changes, it's only the fact that we've actually grew up with all these influences that we're actually bringing them on board, really. You know, different albums take different changes, you know, and so you know, you've got to be seen to be being progressive. Yeah.
So the whole sort of like the idea of Massive Attack as being dark and cool and
no, not the slightest. It's about challenging what you've done before and you know, trying to sort of break boundaries and go into different fields of music or take your stuff somewhere else. You know, if we were to make sort of Blue Lines and Protection all over again, it'd just be really boring. You know, like most bands do, they just make a blueprint of what they did that was successful before, and we're not about that.
Cool. Dave?
That dark.
Yes.
I agree with what G had said.
It's not dark.
I mean, I like
the question says remember lately, which I remember as being lately as being one of the real sort of lighter.
Which one?
Lately.
Yeah. I mean, the first album was a lot lighter because I think we were sort of we were new to it, and it was kind of. I think once you get involved in being in the studio a lot of the time, you tend to sort of find yourself in a different mood. So you know. What was that?
No.
I think it's an immediate take on what coming from our field of being in a sort of sound system thing. Moving into that direction and basically using all the stuff that we sort of been playing and all the influences that we've been playing. But then once you get into a studio situation, you kind of expand on that, and take on more sort of influences.
Which is what you've done.
Blah 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 blah.
Well, I think we're out of time, guys. I think that's it.
Thanks for everyone for tuning in. If they've been
Thank you very much. Thank you.